Welcome! In this lesson, we will be discussing variables and data types in Python. Quick note, this lesson is part of our Beginner Python Bootcamp Series, so if you're interested in that, check out our YouTube channel. Okay, let's get started. So you'll need to have Python downloaded from the official Python website in order to get started. Also, you'll need some sort of IDE. I'm going to be using Python's built-in IDE idle, but you can use any IDE you wish. Okay, so now let's open up idle 3. So make sure you are on the Python 3 shell. If you're new to programming, you might be wondering, what is a variable? So a variable is a container for a value. It can be assigned a name, and you can use it to refer back to it later in the program. Based on this value assigned, the Python interpreter, decides its data type. You can always store a different type in a variable. So there are certain naming rules with Python. For example, you cannot name a variable with something beginning with a special character or a number. However, you can begin an identifier name with an underscore. The rest of the identifier may contain letters from A to Z, underscores, and numbers. Another thing to note is that Python is case sensitive, and so are Python variable identifiers. Name with a capital N and name with a lowercase n are different. For example, here, cat with lowercase c is different from cat with an uppercase c. So basically, make sure you're paying attention to capitalization when accessing your variable identifier. In addition to assigning Python variables, you can also reassign them, as I'm doing to cat. Cat was previously Melody and I reassigned it to Tomcat. That is perfectly fine. So although we do not have to declare a type for Python variables, a value does have a type. So for example, in Java, which is not a dynamically typed language, you do have to declare the data type. For example, you declare a variable like name, string name. However, in Python, you don't have to do that. This information, however, is still vital to the interpreter, and a value does have a type. So in this lesson, we will be going over numbers and strings. So there are 4 types of numbers Python supports. There is int, float, long, and complex. So the first one is int. And int is an integer, like you learn in math. That's all there is to it. A way to check the type or the data type of your variable is to type and in parentheses the variable name. So as you can see, this one is class int or integer. Another one is float. A float data type holds floating point real values with a decimal point. And an int can only store, for example, the number 5, but a float can store 5.25 and also negative 5.25. Another data type is long, and long holds a long integer of unlimited length. However, Python 3 does not support it. The next one is complex. So complex holds a complex number. If you've learned it in math, that might be useful to you. If not, don't worry about it. Next, we will be talking about strings. A string is a sequence of characters. Python does not have a character data type, unlike C++ or Java. However, you can delimit a string using single quotes or double quotes. For example, I can name city Apple with single quotes, or I can name city Apple with double quotes. As you will see, it is exactly the same thing when I output the string. There, they both churned out Apple with single quotes. Next, I'm going to show you how to access a section or position of a string. You can display a character from a string using its index in the string. Remember, indexing starts with 0. So you can display one character from the string by doing this. You display the name as well as 2 brackets and put the position you want inside. So city bracket 0 will return A. A is the first character of apple. You can also display a burst of characters in a string using the slicing operator. So right now I'm getting all of the characters in the string from 1 to 3, not including 3. So now I'm going to show you how to concat two strings. It's actually really simple. So concat means to join. So right now I'm making a string called city2, San Francisco. So to join city2 and city1, all I need to do is city plus city2. There I go, Apple, San Francisco. That joined the two strings. So another thing you can do with Python variables is you can assign values to multiple Python variables in one statement. Let me show you what I mean. So right now I'm creating two variables by the name of name and city, and I'm assigning them to Bob and San Francisco. So it assigns the variable properties respectively, which means Bob corresponds with name and SF corresponds with city. Another thing you can do with Python variables is swapping variables, which is basically interchanging values. To swap Python variables, you don't need to do much. You just type in the variables and swap them. So now city would be assigned to Bob and name to SF. So another thing you can do with variables is actually delete them. So to delete Python variables, you just write delete and the name of the variable. Now as you can see, name does not exist anymore. So the last data type we will be covering is Boolean. So Boolean data type is a data type that has one of two possible values, which is intended to represent the two truth values of logic, true and false. For example, I can assign a variable play game to true, and that would make this value true, or I can assign it to false, which would make it false. So this is especially useful in if-else statements, which we will cover later in the course. All right, congratulations on finishing this lesson. So, if you enjoyed this lesson, consider subscribing and join us along this journey to learn Python. Bye!